When it comes to home insurance, Geico works for you. And since I'm the Geico Gecko, I work for you too.
Hey, Gecko, could you DJ my workout?
I got you, Derek. I know you like them sweet beats on leg day. Great home gym, by the way.
That's fire, Gecko.
I call this remix, bundle your home and car insurance so you can save and get coverage that grows with you.
Oh yeah, rolls right off the tongue. And you know what else I like?
Air horn!
Oh yeah!
Let Geico work for you. Get more with Geico.
Weird Way Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Film Foundations, the collaborative show between Weirding Way Media and someone's favorite productions. I'm your co-host, Ryan Verrill from The Disc Connected.
And I'm your other co-host, Chris Tashy from The...
And on this show, we ask and answer 4 questions about a given topic that is surrounding either an actor, director, franchise, or microgenre. Our job, of course, is to entice you to broaden your horizons on film, to encourage you to travel down film tangents and side roads that you may not have ever traveled down otherwise. Today, we are discussing a topic that I have loved for quite some time. We're going to be discussing the man, Kevin Smith. Chris, how do you feel about Kevin Smith?
The man, the myth, the auteur who likes to talk a lot on stage in front of people and made like a weird niche job out of it for a while. Those evenings with Kevin Smith resonate with me a lot, and it's funny how they've kind of like, I don't think people have forgotten about him, but I don't think they definitely get as talked about as much as they used to. They were pretty popular.
I mean, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. All of that to say, yeah, look, I think the phrase guys of a certain age like Kevin Smith, you and I happen to be squarely in that camp. Look, you and I are only separated by 4 years right now, 3 years soon, but I grew up in the 90s. I was a 90s kid, and Kevin Smith, when I was starting to become of age to watch the kinds of movies that he was making, those were the kinds of movies I wanted to watch.
Right.
Irreverent, his own thing. That's the thing. I mean, for me, Mike Quentin Tarantino is Kevin Smith, because that's the filmmaker of that group of people that I resonated with more than anybody else. And then after Kevin Smith would be Robert Rodriguez. Those are the 2 people I saw more than I saw of anybody else. They're the directors whose movies I still more or less will search out because they're the ones who direct it. Aside from one thing with Kevin Smith, and we'll talk about it. And it's actually 2 things, because I misquoted to you earlier that I hadn't seen one of the things. It's actually 2, or I guess 3, actually. But one of those things I feel like nobody even really cares about, thinks about, and especially him, Kevin Smith, the director. But I have an affinity for Kevin Smith. He's one of the few filmmakers who I genuinely feel like if he were here sitting with us, we would probably get along with him swimmingly. He seems like the kind of person who gets it, and what it is a certain kind of pop culture filmmaking that came out of the 90s. Rodriguez was doing it, Tarantino was doing it, and Kevin Smith was doing it. And then, I mean, someone that you and I have talked about was also doing it, like a Harmony Korine was doing it. I mean, there are a lot of filmmakers in the 90s who were doing their thing, that are still doing their thing now, that it feels like they paved the way for everybody else to continue to keep doing their thing. And in a lot of ways, Tarantino pushed that narrative pretty hard of like, I'm going to do my own thing, and I'm going to do my own thing. And Kevin Smith's been doing his own thing too. He just hasn't had the violence that Tarantino has. Kevin Smith's movies are all, for the most part, very funny. They're comedies, but they're comedies that often have something to say about the human condition, even if there is a man having sex with a donkey in the movie. They still have something. I mean, Clerks 2 is an extremely endearing movie, but there is a donkey show scene in that movie. We'll get to it when we get to it. But for me, Kevin Smith is a seminal filmmaker, not only of my formative years, but also someone who his films more or less still resonate with me now. What about you, Ryan Verrill?
Same sort of thing. I have loved Kevin Smith since the first time I watched one of his movies. I think the ripe old age of 7 when Clerks came out. I didn't watch it then, of course. I think I saw Clerks probably around 2000 or so, and I mostly just went to some of the other films that he'd done since then, and this was the perfect time to get into Dogma and Chasing Amy and Mallrats because they were already done. And then coming up, the big one for me that really captured me when I was young, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Again, a lot of these were, pardon the pun on the name of the show here, but these were foundational for me. And one thing with what you said, I really want to throw out the attitude that Kevin Smith gave, which a lot of people don't give him enough credit for, which is exactly the same as Robert Rodriguez, like you said, and exactly the same as, funny enough, are the obviously very different type of auteur, and I probably wouldn't actually call him an auteur, but Lloyd Kaufman from Troma. If you look at the way Lloyd and Robert Rodriguez acted in the 90s, they both put out books that Robert Rodriguez's book is, I think it's called Rebel Without a Crew, and it's about making a movie with basically no money and suddenly being a player in Hollywood. Lloyd Kaufman wrote a book that's called Make the Damn Movie or Make Your Own Damn Movie, something like that. And it was literally just, what the fuck are you doing? Just get up and make a fucking movie. And all these people, they grabbed onto this and just said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that first movie. And then from there, show that I've got the stuff and get a foot into the industry. And all these people are still working. Lloyd Kaufman is even still at knocking away Troma, making new movies all the time and appearing in all kinds of stuff and still like touring and giving talks everywhere. All these people are here just to say, I just tried something and it worked out and you should do it too. And something about that, it was so appealing. And again, it's not like around this time, Kevin wasn't even just like evangelizing that idea yet. It just came through his film somehow. And it just came across as, this is all of our friends just making movies. And isn't that super fun? And yeah, it looks super fun.
And look, you see what I mean? Like, in a lot of ways, like, we've never made a movie yet, but that doesn't mean we won't.
Right.
And to your point, like, Kevin Smith always tells that famous story about how he just got a bunch of credit cards and maxed them all out. Yeah, bro. Like, that's the way you do it then. You don't have to do that now anymore, thank God. But, like, you could now, I guess, but I don't see that being the same expectation. Like, now there's crowdfunding. Right. Now there's all kinds of other avenues, which are not easy, not guaranteed, but again, there are now thankfully more avenues to go down to raise money. But yeah, the 90s were just a wild time, an actual wild time for making film. And Kevin Smith should be mentioned more in that conversation about, successful 90s filmmakers who are still kicking it today. I know why he's not, because people view his films as lowbrow, which I get. There's dick and fart jokes and all kinds of stuff. But you know what? They're well-written dick and fart jokes. They're not just, I don't know, I don't want to drag anybody on the show. There are names that, the Friedberg and Seltzer, okay? That's, just the low-hanging stuff that I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, you're not trying very hard. And we can all tell, which again, is fine. Not everybody has to. But when someone does, for me, that's someone worth praising, that's someone worth lauding, and that's someone worth paying attention to as they continue to make films in their career. Because Kevin Smith's still working, ostensibly making another horror movie, possibly. So he claims. He's been claiming since he made his last horror movie that he's making another horror movie. But yeah, Kevin Smith for me, and clearly for you, is just, he's the kind of guy that I wish I had known in high school. Because if I had known him, I would have been in his movie. Right. Just the same way Brian O'Halloran is. That guy's not an actor. He is in Kevin Smith movies, but again, that's the thing. Like you said, you tell him, Steve Dave, those dudes just work for Kevin Smith at his comic book store still. Right. That's the Red Bank, New Jersey crew that Kevin Smith surrounded himself with Scott Mosier and Jason Mewes, obviously. I wish I was those people's friends, but here's the thing. I have my own friends who are just as fucking weird, who are just as crass and just as creative and smart. And I'm not comparing myself to Kevin Smith, but I'm glad that similarly to Kevin Smith, I've been able to cultivate a group of people that I surround myself with that are creative, that support my creativity, and are equally as creative. So in a lot of ways, while Kevin Smith wasn't beating that drum in the 90s, he was beating it enough for us to listen, and people like us to listen, to go, well, yeah, we can do this too. We're doing our own corner of the world. We're not making movies, we're making podcasts, but we're just doing the goddamn thing. It's not like one day someone came to me and was like, want to do a podcast? It's like, let's just do the fucking thing. Right. Why not?
I mean, well said. There's so much to unpack here because he's done a lot of different things, and the big thing before we get into like the actual history of his films, I really want to show like the fact that he is somebody that has such a dedicated fan base cannot be understated. Yeah. Everything he does, he has people showing up in the tens of thousands to help with crowdfunding, to help vote on making a movie or not, to support brand new podcast ventures, to support getting a show made for AMC that went way longer than it should have, to just all of these things. No matter what he touches, he has this crazy network of individuals that will show up. And honestly, that is the hardest thing in 2024 is to find the ability for people to decide to show up when you're not established. And the fact that he established this in the perfect time for the perfect generation, he's got a mate. He can do basically whatever he wants, and he has. He's stayed out primarily of the, I don't want to say out of the studio system, but a lot of his stuff still has that indie feel at least.
It still does, 100%.
He's gotten some production dollars, but I mean, he's still like doing the Clerks 3 roadshow, or not Clerks 3. The one that he took on the road, of course, was Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and toured all across the U.S. in theaters. And look at me, I made the pilgrimage, went and sat with him as we all watched it together in a theater. It was an incredible night. He's a great dude, and just everybody shows up for him, and that's a big deal. Not everybody can say that they got that.
I met him in Dallas at Comic-Con. That's how much I love him. And I didn't go watch movies of his. I would have loved to go see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. I don't know if it came this. It probably did, and I just didn't see it, or who fucking knows. But I went out of my way to meet him and Jason Mewes at Comic-Con. So I'm right there with you. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to meet any other movie director, frankly. Like, there's not even any other movie director I care about, to be honest with you. In the way that I feel like Kevin Smith speaks to my inner teenage dickhead me, but also the inner teenage dickhead me that, because again, I think, and this is the other thing that I think Kevin Smith now, in 2024, as you put it, 5 years, going on 6 years after his heart attack that almost killed him, he's also been a really good advocate for taking fucking better care of yourself.
Yep.
Because everybody's seen the picture, if you know what I'm talking about, but Big Jeans Kevin Smith, I mean, he's recreated the picture since, thankfully, to hilarious effect. But he's also one of those dudes that, like, as a dude who was always overweight, and I'm still am, but not as much as I used to, I would always look at him and be like, if that guy can do it, like, I know I can. And I don't have to have a heart attack for me to get there. But I had my own crisis of faith, and I'm on my own journey, and one of the people that I genuinely think helped with that was Kevin Smith. Just someone who's like, he can do it. And he's the guy who, like, made being fat part of his gimmick. Like, I don't know how to say this before we get into talking about the movies, but skinny Silent Bob does not hit the same way fat Silent Bob does. It's just the truth. I mean, it for me is similarly to another person that I hold in very high regard, who also went on their personal health journey and is a very different person, at least outwardly, Penn Jillette. I mean, doesn't even look like the same person.
Not at all.
Same guy, though. Still saying the same things. But also another person like that, where it's like, if he can do it, I can do it. And I get it. But that, again, that's just being a good human, let alone a good film director and other things. And, Kevin Smith, I think you can tell in the movies that he writes, he's self-aware. And being self-aware is not easy. And also being able to have that come through in what you're working on isn't easy either. But if there's one thing that we can say about Kevin Smith before we start talking specifically about his movies, for good and for bad, are a 100% expression of who he is.
Yeah.
Which is fucking awesome, by the way, that we have that people can still do that. Even now, in the studio system that we have, people can still make a movie that is as good as any other movie and is as true to who they are as possible.
Well, on that note, I'm going to run through, since it's a fairly short list, not always going to do this, but the titles that he's directed, or at least been the writer on. And that's, I think, what sets a lot of these apart compared to some other filmmakers, is most of these he's directed, written, and edited, which shows how much he is invested in all of these right alongside you watching them. So all starting back in 1994, Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Get it right.
I'm sorry. Jersey Girl, Clerks 2, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Cop Out, Red State. He didn't direct it, but the Jay and Silent Bob super groovy cartoon movie has to be thrown in here. And then we got Tusk, Yoga Hosers, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. The one that I just heard about for the first time yesterday when you mentioned it, Killroy Was Here. And then, of course, Clerks.
Killroy Was Here will not get mentioned in any of these conversations because it is impossible to find. It's an NFT, and I guess now that it's an NFT, we'll never see it. Or we didn't buy it in time, which seems like a shame because I know he has a segment in another horror anthology movie. But I would love to see what a Kevin Smith horror anthology movie looks like. I guess I should go back in time to 2022, 2 years ago, and buy his NFT movie. I mean, so bizarre, so strange.
That's also a terrible, terrible choice. He never should have done this.
I know. I mean, 2022, as not far back as it is, was a different time in terms of like people embracing NFTs. Now we're like post NFTs and people are like, NFTs are a waste of money and time. But in 2022, that was like all the rage. So I can't fault him for doing it. But yeah, like that hasn't aged well, even 2 years later.
So while I was looking into this, because I was going to try to watch it this morning if I could find it, there is a Reddit thread out there of somebody literally saying exactly what you just said, that it's impossible to see, but also a lot of people that are very, very diehard fans of him complaining that he's got no follow through on stuff like this. So there's a bunch of people saying that they're convinced it doesn't exist. Somebody did say that they saw it at the whole Smod Castle thing that he's been doing, but yeah.
So there's a possibility that this is just like a movie that exists solely in title alone.
I mean, yeah, it's possible.
One guy
but
saw it one time and said it was good. Like, that's not enough.
Right. So, yeah, this is an odd one. So we're just going to skip right by that, of course. But he's got a pretty eclectic filmography, especially for somebody that's been doing it by themselves for the most part. And it's not just indies. It's not just horror. It's not just anything. He has mixed up the genres quite a bit. He's done a couple big studio flicks with some big names. But on that point, I think it's probably time to get into it, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Chris, you're up first tonight. So as usual, question one, what do you consider the foundational title for Kevin Smith for somebody to watch? Easy to get into the rest of his filmography.
So, like any good person who thinks about metaphors to describe the way that they think, I was playing a game of pickleball in my head earlier, trying to figure out which side of the net I wanted to come down on, because in my mind, there are two answers here, two clear answers. But I feel like even further back than that, there's only one answer. I'll be curious if it's your answer, because I feel like it's not the only answer, but it's one of two answers. 1994's Clerks. It still stands up. And I think it's the best Clerks movie because it just feels...
Oh, for sure.
It feels so... And as much... Look, I love Clerks 2. Clerks 2, I think, is... Again, it goes in some directions that are interesting, and it has some interesting things to say, but Clerks is a film that when you watch it, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. And there is very little in between. I remember, and I've mentioned it to you, and it's no longer on YouTube, there was a video that I did in college that was inspired by Clerks. The framing device was the same. It was scene with text, so like the text and then the scene and then text and then the scene, and the text had to do with the scene a little bit. So that was something that inspired me even when I was 18, because that was the person I wanted to ape. And why? Because Clerks is just, it's an amazing film for what it is. It takes place in a gas station. It's just two people talking pretty much the entire movie. But my God, it zips along. It's one of those movies where every time I watch it, I just am awed that he was able to make this as good as it is, and it still stands up,
right,
30 years later. And are there some points in it that maybe are 90s isms? Yes, but I mean, it came out in the 90s. So what do you expect? It is firmly set in 1994, but it is a movie that, again, I think anybody who's worked a fucking shitty job would understand I'm not even supposed to be here today, which is why I put it underneath my name on this video, because it's a sentiment that I can 100% agree with, and it's a thing that I've said plenty of times on top of everything else. It's eminently quotable. There are so many fucking hilarious lines from the movie, things that Kevin Smith puts out into the pop culture conversation. I don't know how many people knew what snowballing was before Clerks, myself included, and I consider myself to be a pretty perverted person, but at the time, I'm not sure even I knew what snowballing was. So that's the thing about Kevin Smith. He's always able to introduce something that I had never heard before, or something that is just so much him that you can't help but think like the person who wrote this just they get me in the kind of things that I find funny. And when you find that person, it's hard to let go. So yeah, for me, it's Clerks. And I'm not saying that it couldn't be anything else on this list, but I'm curious if your answer is Clerks, because like it's clear in a way, the obvious one. That's for sure. Obvious being the key phrase, not necessarily the right one or the one that you're going to pick. So what did you pick?
So here's the thing. This was the foundational film for me, for sure. It was the one that I gravitated to. I think it is easily still top tier, one of his 3 best films. I did pick something else because I think there is another film that is more accessible, that still delivers his style in spades, but for new people that are perhaps just getting into Kevin Smith cinema, or, they're, we'll say, of the, not like kids necessarily, but like early 20s, they're going to want something a little more recent. Sure. And probably something a little less black and white for no reason. And
oh, come on. The black and white of the movie is one of my favorite parts. It just makes no sense.
Right. It's perfect.
Yeah, but it does make no sense.
Right. So funny enough, I honestly think the best one to go with here is Zach and Miri Make a Porno. The comedy in here is relevant just like it is in Clerks. It's the kind of thing that we've all sat around with our groups of friends and made jokes about. It's the kind of, just like off the beaten path comedy that still feels like exactly what you would picture Kevin Smith joking about every single night. It's got faces that you recognize from everything else from the last 15 years. It's got a lot of Kevin Smith friends. It's got everything. It is one of those movies that is not divisive. It's pretty well received for the most part. I know that he's got a couple movies that people have either turned on in the decade since, or it's been hated since the day it was released. But this is not really one of them. This is one of those titles that everybody's like, yeah, that's a Kevin Smith movie. And I think based on that feeling, I think to me, that's the easiest one for somebody that's never seen any of them right now in 2024 to watch first.
That would have been my other answer, just based solely upon the fact that it is the biggest mainstream Kevin Smith movie.
Right.
I mean, Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks, Justin Long, Brandon Routh. Do I need to continue? I mean, there you go. Those 4 names alone should give you an idea. And they're the main characters. Most of the time in these movies, it's not anybody recognizable that's the main character. It's, like I said, Brian O'Halloran, or the gentleman whose name is escaping me right now that plays Dante, Jeff Anderson. Those guys are only actors in Kevin Smith movies or things that he's associated with. And so for me, that would have been the other answer. I was curious if you were going to pick it. I'm glad you did, because I actually love that movie. It's movie great. That has a very special place in my heart. I saw it with a very good friend of mine. Her and I had a great time, and there will never be a moment in my life where the phrase Sherpa up the mountain of gayness will not make me laugh like a little child. And to be fair, Justin Long doing that, like, I'm gay Justin Long voice is just...
It's perfect.
Justin Long, man. When is somebody going to be like, I want to do a Justin Long episode? Because, brother, I would do a Justin Long episode in a heartbeat. And you know what? His last name is apt. If you know, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked it, though, because it's a fun and funny movie.
I'm glad you enjoy it, too. This is one that it can be, like, foundational humor-wise for a lot of people. And I got to throw out, you mentioned 4 of the main names. You got to talk about Craig Robinson in this movie. Mm-hmm. Craig Robinson is like peak popularity from The Office at the time, and makes this movie and shows that he is not just funny in The Office, but funny every single time this man is on screen. This movie is sweet. Also, it's romantic in quite a few scenes. It's not, a lot of the jokes are crass, but the actual, like, the story itself is not super crass. It's more so just charming, which totally worked for me the first time I saw this.
Star Wars Episode 3, The Revenge of the Shit, the all-anal final chapter. Yeah. I mean, yeah, how is a movie that has that line as sweet and charming? Because at the end of the movie, you have what? Seth Rogen Dutch ruddering Jason Mewes in a heartfelt moment that, again, only Kevin Smith could write. And it still work as like a genuinely heartfelt moment. Well, one man is jerking off another man. It's, again... If you're here and you're wondering what you're listening to, you probably have never seen a Kevin Smith movie. So this is your moment to be like, I can leave now because this is not going to somehow change what they're talking.
Now you touch my arm. Now it's a double Dutch rudder.
Yeah, now it's double Dutch rudder. Yeah. Yeah. God. I mean, there's a term from Clerks 2 that I cannot say, but I cannot believe he puts it in his movie. But they're taking it back. I mean,
right.
God. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think of Kevin Smith's movies and, oh, God. Yeah. Just. Yeah.
So before we get into question 2, one thing I really wanted us to lay out here, we mentioned that he makes movies with his friends. So not only does he do that, but usually they're playing the same characters. And he has created what has been dubbed the View Askewniverse. And his production company is called View Askew. And so that's led to this name. And that alone has been what has led to so much of this camaraderie. And there are people that are in like 6 different movies, and they're all literally playing the same character in those 6 movies. So it's one of these things where it's like when you watch 1 or 2 of these, you kind of got to watch them all. Not like because you feel like you have to, but it feels like this is a world that I want to feel a part of and immerse myself in. And so something about creating that is, again, like endearing in a way, but also it shows a lot of that devotion that people have had to him and his characters. And I can't think of another director who's been able to sustain it the way that he has like this in a way for a fandom.
Thank you for mentioning the View Askewniverse. What a weird, that was a connected universe before, and I'm going to mention it every episode, you sons of bitches. It was a connected universe before the MCU was.
Right.
It was it not? I mean, I believe what?
Absolutely.
Mallrats and Clerks. So 95 is when the first, because they do mention in Mallrats some of the stuff in Clerks, but they mention it secondhand.
There's references, yeah.
Well, the girl's funeral that they go to, they know her in Mallrats, right? They mention her, that she died, yeah.
Well, and Jane, Silent Bob show up in Mallrats,
right,
too, right?
Yeah, well, they're the through line.
They're the main through line, yes.
Yeah. Which, and let's mention something here, because again, obviously, if you're listening to this, you may not, you know who Jay and Silent Bob are, but Kevin Smith plays Silent Bob, obviously. Kevin Smith is the guy we're talking about here. So he's also, I think, one of the few directors who's managed to make a cameo in his movies actually work every time he's done it,
right,
and not get in the way and not feel like, oh, look, there's Alfred Hitchcock walking a dog in the background. It's, oh, look, he's just, Kevin Smith and Silent Bob are not the same person as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's a character that he plays, but he imbues it with such Kevin Smith energy that you can't help just be like, yeah, it's just Kevin Smith. But it is funny that, he's the guy who talks all the time, and now he's just being asked to be quiet. So, or give 1 or 2 lines of dialogue.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man, the View Askewniverse is fun. That's the biggest thing. For anybody that hasn't or thought that Kevin Smith stuff is insufferable, which I know there are some people that are just completely anti Kevin Smith. There's something about this that just, it wrangles you in, and I appreciate it so much.
I'm glad that people like us get something like this. Like, it's not just the MCU. Like, us weirdos who like weird movies get to have a weirdo connected universe. Like, why not? Why not? And again, Jay and Silent Bob reboot came out in what, 2020?
2019. It was right before the pandemic.
2000. So what, 2019 to 1994? I mean, that's a long time to have these characters kicking around. And then Clerks 3. So
Clerks 3 came after, yeah. So it's actually even longer. It's a long time, 28 years.
I know, to be sharing with these ding-dongs of characters. My God. So, Ryan, I'm going to kick the next question to you. Can you recommend a lesser-known title? And is it going to be the same answer that I pick?
It probably is. Well, now that I know how you and I both feel, it might be. But I'm going to go with what is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. And this one I have to go with because it's been kind of difficult to watch for a few years. It's not been in print on home video. And beyond that, it's been not available on streaming. But I was super proud to be able to see this one in theater because not very many people saw it at the time. I think I'm going to go with what is probably his most relevant film for today's society, 2011's Red State.
Boo! You took the easy way out. You took the easy way out. You know it.
This is not the easy way out.
My answer is the harder way out than it is yours, because your point is valid. It is 100% oddly topical.
I don't think it's the easy way out, though. Because hardly anybody has seen it. And that's
fair.
So what I want to get into is share for a minute what this movie is, because unfortunately this movie has been, again, locked behind the Miramax fucking vault because of stupid people that would sexually assault. I don't want to say his name. Anyways, the main producer behind Miramax has ruined many of the distribution of Kevin Smith's films. So that's another thing for another story. But this film, I mean, this movie is rad, first of all. So this movie starts with some teenagers that are going out to meet a woman in the middle of basically BFE because there was an invitation for an orgy. And it's a bunch of teenagers surfing Craigslist trying to get laid. And they go out to this place, and this individual tricks the kids, and I say kids very, very specifically here because they are very young at heart, and you can tell, tricks them into drinking beer that she's put stuff in, and they wake up in cages in a church, which is malicious and sadistic as fuck to watch. And then, of course, this takes so many different crazy turns after this, and it turns into essentially the Westboro Baptist Church on screen in a way that you never expect to be seen. And then, of course, near the end of this, there is not even near the end. It's like halfway through the film. There's a siege that starts where a government entity is coming in to try to break in and fix everything that's been happening and try to investigate. And there's a shootout that goes insane. And this movie turns into being a story about religion and guns and drugs and the Westboro Baptist Church and the influence that they've had in certain things. And speaking as somebody that lives in Kansas City now, and you live in close in Nebraska, where we are both like creating this weird little triangle with our little friends in Kansas at the Westboro Baptist Church. It is crazy to know that I have literally driven past these people protesting multiple things in Kansas City. They show up and are just a pimple on the ass of this earth. And this movie excoriates them. And everything about this is harrowing, realistic. It is genuinely frightening. It is acted superbly. Everybody in this movie, they give a performance that is for like an Orson Welles level film. Not exaggerating in any way here. I am shocked at how much everybody went for it in this movie, including John Goodman, who I fucking love in everything, and he is amazing in this movie. Also shout out to Kyle Gallner, or Gallner, however you say it, who is suddenly emerging as like the next Scream King.
And murdered by Ghostface, baby.
Right. And he's incredible in this. And he was so young at the time. I mean, not red eye young, but he's very young in this for sure. This movie, I think, is the one that if you watch this first, you want more movies like this. But if you watch this after you've watched some other Kevin Smith stuff, you're impressed with everything about this film. And it's a great movie on every level, no matter how you look at it. There's not enough time for me to say every good word I could say about this movie.
I would say we could do an episode on it, but I did one on it last year. Because I am with you. I mean, if I weren't giving you my answer, this would have been it. Because, I think this is Kevin Smith's best movie.
Thank you.
Period.
Thank you.
I'm with you, bro. Like, not only that, and here's the thing that I'm kind of surprised you didn't mention. I actually don't think it excoriates the Westboro Baptist as much as it excoriates everybody in the movie, them and the American government, because it's effectively Waco and or Ruby Ridge on screen. But hey, what if those people actually did have guns? I'm not saying they didn't have guns in Waco. We know they did. But this is a little bit more of like every bad thing. It's Shakespearean in how badly everything goes. It's like a Greek tragedy. I mean, you said it yourself. Like like everything that can go bad goes bad, and the characters who you're rooting for don't get comfortable because there will be no rooting for them. Again, it's a very hard movie to watch because there's very few people to root for, and when you do find someone to root for, I think you find out very quickly you probably shouldn't be rooting for them. And I will say the only thing that keeps me from suggesting this movie, and it's the thing that I realized when I rewatched it, the movie's ending sucks.
I disagree.
I really disagree because the thing it could have been is why I picked the thing that I picked. Because he finally did the fucking weirdo thing.
And I'm glad you're picking that one. And I like hardly anybody.
Like you're like, I know what it is too. You
hardly anybody saw that one in theaters, and I went and saw that one in theaters day fucking one because I knew it was going to be amazing, and primarily because you get one of the same actors from this film in that. And I mean, both of these
different performance, but just as good,
and both terrifying. That's the best part. They are just so like sadistic and thoughtless, and yet so different. What I was going to say too, you were saying this is like, what if those people had guns? Beyond that, the scariest part of this is what if those people had guns and a desire to be a martyr? And with that, we're all fucked. No matter what, nobody wins. And unfortunately, that's what we are facing in today's society.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This is the topical pick. This is the Kevin Smith movie that has aged well, unfortunately. Like, I wish that this movie wasn't topical and relevant, but it unfortunately is. And
imagine if this came out last year.
Oh, God, bro. Give this movie a fucking Criterion release, you fucking cowards. Come on, stop releasing WALL-E and release Red State. Because here's the thing. This movie, like, again, it's two things. Red State somehow makes the Westboro Baptists, some of them sympathetic, in a way that I find to be shocking that Kevin Smith pulls that trick off. Yeah. But at the same time, he makes both sides look terrible, which is the right way to have this conversation. It's not the U.S. government's great. It's the U.S. government tends to make bad decisions. Look at Waco. Look at Ruby Ridge. Those are two things that went poorly because of the government, primarily. And the fact that this movie doesn't just serve the Westboro Baptists or fucking nut jobs and their what if they want to be martyrs. It serves up that side of food, but it also serves up the side of food. What if the U.S. government just said, fuck it, we're going to kill them anyways? That's a problem for all of us. Either way you look at it. Yeah, Kevin Smith's best movie by far. However, it's his best movie not featuring a fucking walrus. Okay? I know why you didn't pick it, because Red State is the better movie. But my God, can we talk about Tusk for a moment?
We can, but I want to say before we go into it, the reason I didn't pick this is because of Johnny fucking Depp. Anyways,
yeah,
continue.
That's fair. And see, the reason I didn't pick Red State is because of the ending. I know, but here's the thing. If they had done the ending the way he wanted to, come on now. I mean, that would have been really something special. I'm not saying the ending doesn't work in Red State. I think the ending works in Red State in a different way. I think it's a much more cynical ending, which is fine. But like the ending that Kevin Smith talks about, like, maybe don't even share that you wanted to do that. Don't tell anybody, because like now I want to see it. Now I want that so badly, which would have been like if Kevin Smith had made Tusk and not shown the man in the walrus suit.
Right. Which, again, most anticlimactic movie ever if it does that.
Right. Which, again, I know that Red State wasn't promising that, but Red State gets to the point where it should have done it and doesn't, which I understand. Budgetary restrictions, all the kinds of things. However, my answer to this question is, in fact, 2014's oft maligned, much hated, for whatever reason I don't know. No, I understand why people don't like it. It's his Kevin Smith's only body horror movie, which
yeah,
which is so wild to say. But yeah, 2014's Tusk, a movie where Justin Long, who we've already talked about, gets turned into a human walrus by Michael Parks. Is that a spoiler for the movie? Not really, because that's the entire goddamn premise. Go see it yourself. If it sounds like something you'd be interested in, I would understand entirely why it wouldn't be. It is gross. It is over the top. It is at times disturbing and hilarious at the same breath. I watch this movie, and I don't know what it says about me. Every time I get to the ending, I always laugh. I think it is the funniest, most fucked up ending. It's so funny when he's sitting there in the little cage. Is it not? It's like Kevin Smith was just laughing to himself, being like, and then they went and visited him too. And they throw him a fish. Isn't that funny? Like, see what I mean? See how it's funny? It's funny as long as you just take a step to the right and realize that I think that's what Kevin Smith's going for. Is it a horror movie? Yes. But Kevin Smith is a funny guy. And horror and comedy, very closely related, separated by a very thin margin. And yes, I will contend, and I will agree, there is one thing about this movie that is very hard for me to get past, and that is the inclusion of Johnny Depp in a effectively Groucho Marx.
I was about to say Groucho Marx.
Those like Groucho Marx things you put on your face with the fake nose and the glasses. Like, that's what it is. And yeah, I mean, I feel like for the longest time, all anybody mentioned about this movie was the weirdo Johnny Depp of it all, or Justin Long being in a walrus suit. And Johnny Depp does get in the way and he does distract. But at the same time, like, it's kind of weird that there's this A24 horror movie. By the way, all you A24 fans, where are you sleeping on this one for? A A24 horror movie with Johnny Depp and a Justin Long walrus suit man. Like, if that's what they're showing down at your local Cinemaplex right now, I'd love to hear what fucking movie that is. I am a huge fan of weird cinema, and Tusk is about as weird a mainstream movie as you can get because it has Justin Long in it. It has, and Michael Parks and Haley Joel Osment, and once again, Johnny Depp. I'm not going to ruin the movie. I want people to go watch it. I genuinely want more people to watch this movie and find out if they like it or not. I get why you wouldn't like this movie, but it's so weird. It almost you can't help but at least be impressed that it exists. And on top of everything else, it's based off of the thing that you and I sit here and do all the time. It's literally based off of a podcast that they did where they were reading a story and then they were like, should we do this as a movie? Walrus yes or walrus no? Brian, tell me what you think. You're sitting there smirking. You're making me nervous. I know you like Tusk. You've alluded to the fact that you like it. Maybe you're not as in love with it as I am.
No, I'm smirking because I adore this movie. I think this is Kevin Smith's second best movie.
Same.
I think that Clerks is third. I think that these three are the perfect trifecta because you've got one straight-laced comedy. You've got one like pretty horrific morality tale essentially in Red State.
Social commentary.
Right. And then you've got Tusk, which is firmly in the center of those two, just as this weirdo gonzo out of nowhere. What the fuck is this in Kevin Smith's filmography? So the one thing that I really wanted to highlight, other than the fact that they made this movie because they were high on a podcast and got people to tweet the words walrus yes, that is one of the best stories in Hollywood history. Like,
Isn't it really? Like, is it not? Like, so fucking dumb in the best way. Like, hell yeah.
The last thing, this movie is only a horror movie, not because Justin Long ends up in a walrus suit and looks fucking terrifying at that, but this movie is a horror movie because Michael Parks delivers an Oscar-worthy performance of this maniacal, shocking, sadistic, like lead paint poisoned boomer beyond his belief that is out here to ruin somebody's life. And this guy can act better than so many people that have won awards in the last 10 years that I am disgusted that this was not even up for consideration for that type of an award. Michael Parks has been acting for like 60 years before this movie is released, and somehow I think he gives a career-defining performance in 2014's Tusk about a fucking walrus being made out of a podcaster. Like, that is such a weird story that if you told Michael Parks that in 1973, he would probably like jump out of the car that you're driving because he's so confused. Like, this doesn't make any sense, and Kevin Smith makes it make perfect sense, and then Michael Parks delivers that nonsense into such a harrowing performance that you cannot help but be drawn into every single scene.
And it's gross. Can I mention how gross it is? I mean, that reveal, because here's the thing. I don't want anybody to think that there's not a reveal in this movie. You do see Justin Long in the walrus suit. That's not a spoiler. Like, that's what happens. But I'll tell you, every time I watch the movie and it gets to that scene, I'm always astounded that Justin Long signed up for that. But at the same time, I've got to think that like someone like Justin Long, someone like you, or someone like me, like this opportunity doesn't ever.
Right, and Justin Long has been making those choices his entire career.
Yeah,
he's been doing that since day one, and I appreciate him.
Baby.
I appreciate him so damn much for every weirdo role that he's taken because he never holds back. I mean, we were just talking about Zach and Miri, the fact that he was never even advertised in the trailers for Barbarian, and he was the biggest part of Barbarian. Like, a shocking career that he's had.
Jeepers Creepers, don't forget.
It was great, but he doesn't do anything super shocking like these. But I mean, he could make like 5 of these performances in some years, and it would just be a regular year for Justin Long, which is insanity. Anyways, I could talk about Tusk and Red State for hours and hours and hours. These movies, again, if you have never seen them, we did not plan these. We did not talk about our choices before this at all. And the fact that we are both so passionate should mean something because, man, these movies mean something. These are well-crafted, weird, subversive films that were made in the 2010s that deserve a hell of a lot more credit than they get.
And can I mention, and this is the moment where I lose all credibility. And
Oh, God.
you might know what I'm about to say.
Something about yoga hosers.
Yeah, it sure is something about yoga hosers. I don't hate it as much as the first time I watched it. And it may grow on me yet. And I will tell you why. Because Justin Long is really funny. The Yogi Bear joke is so idiotic. And it just, they keep drilling you with it. It also has Austin Butler in it. In a like somewhat like odd performance of like being like a serial killer teenager, which is an odd choice. But something about Johnny Depp's daughter and Kevin Smith's daughter, their chemistry, like I like the two of them when it's just them being like complete like shithead teenagers. I think the movie's funny, but yeah, Yoga Hosers, I have a small place in my heart for it, and maybe one day it will grow, but there used to not be one at all, because it is a hard movie to like, because it is ultimately Kevin Smith directing his daughter and his famous friend's daughter in a movie. I happen to have a small place in my heart for Kevin Smith as a sausage man, okay?
So I got to ask, do you think we ever get Moose Jaws? Which, for anybody listening, Moose Jaws is the third part of his, what's it called? The Great White Trilogy or Great White North Trilogy. That's what it is. North Trilogy. Yeah. So he was going off of a movie where he wanted to make a movie that was basically Jaws, but with a moose. And he's been calling it Moose Jaws for years. And it's been hinted at ever since Tusk was conceived. And yet here we are a full decade later, and nigh closer at all to seeing it in production.
Do I think Moose Jaws will happen? Yes, but I think that Moose Jaws will happen only if Tusk's happens, which is the thing that he talked about more recently than Moose Jaws, which was Tusk with a $sign at the end, which I'm assuming has something to do with Justin Long coming back. I think he's alluded to like Justin Long becomes a human again, and then he's the villain, which would track if we're talking about a meta take on the previous film, but I don't know. I mean, he's one of those dudes, we were recently talking about Steven Soderbergh, a guy who's retired as many times as he's directed films at this point. And Kevin Smith at least has never done that. But Kevin Smith has said, like, I'm going to be going to work on Moose Jaws. That was 2016. Like, you've made how many movies since? 2?
Right.
2 movies? 1? 2. Jay and Silent Bob reboot and Clerks 2.
And technically, Killroy Was Here, supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly, Your Honor. Allegedly. Yeah, I don't know, but I remember he also had kind of alluded to the fact that in Moose Jaws, he was going to kill Jay and Silent Bob off as characters. That was one of the things he was going to have them die at the hands of the Moose Jaws. It's like, I don't know if I care so much about you killing off your most famous characters unless you want to be done playing them, but I don't know. I mean, look, if it's half as good as Tusk or Red State, it's going to be worth watching. But I don't know. What about you? Think it's going to come out? Or you think it's just? I mean, 10 years isn't that long.
No,
in the industry.
It's not that long. And actually, this is probably a good segue to one of the things I wanted to bring up. And hopefully you've seen it, because I don't want to be just alluding to something you haven't seen. He did about, time has been weird over the last year. So it's probably been like 7 or 8 months. He put out a video last year through like Variety or Vanity Fair or something that was like 25 minutes long. And it was the most vulnerable I've ever seen Kevin Smith, which is saying something for somebody that went through a Widowmaker heart attack, that has come out and been very honest since then. But this video that showed up on YouTube is all about his struggles through life and mental health and feeling alone and needing to go seek out mental health because he couldn't handle everyday life. The feeling like I think there was allusions to like substance abuse in some ways. I don't remember if it was just marijuana, but it was more like I need to get my shit together. And even though I've had the wake up call of the heart attack, we all have things that we're facing. And something about that, like it made me feel like he was rejuvenated, but at the same time, not much has happened since then, publicly at least. So I hope it works out. But the biggest thing, I just hope he's okay. Like he's gone through so much. This is one of those people that has been literally like torn apart in the trades. This is somebody that has been reviewed as one of the worst filmmakers of our time. He's been reviewed as one of the best filmmakers of our time. He has people going back on a movie like Chasing Amy and dissecting it and saying this never should have been made, and making him feel bad for all these choices that happened for a very 90s movie. And there's a lot of things that I understand if he was not doing super well. So the biggest thing, I just respect the hell out of the guy, and I want him to be open.
Same. And like I said, I mean, he's one of those people who being open and honest and setting a good example is the right step and the first step in a very long set of steps that need to be taken to help destigmatize the conversation around these things. Because look, you and I talking about it is one thing, but someone with the reach like Kevin Smith talking about it is another, and people listen to him, thankfully. You know, and unthankfully if you don't like him. But yeah, I mean, he seemingly is also a good steward of taking care of yourself and being honest about mental health struggles, which is not easy to be honest about, especially in an industry that eats its own. So, and loves to eat its own. It actually enjoys eating its own to the point of, you know, I mean, again, people like Judy Garland and all these other actors and directors who have worked themselves into an early grave because they never thought they were good enough. So Kevin Smith being honest, I did see that. And again, it's much appreciated to see someone as high profile as him being honest in a way that people like him tend to not be, or at least not genuine.
In a way that genuinely could have hurt his career too. Like that was a big step. And if anything, I think it made his fans feel better about him and the whole situation. There's no way that blows up in his face. He did incredible that day.
Yeah, agreed.
And that leads us to our third question. So, Chris, what do you think is the biggest impact that Kevin Smith has had on pop culture? Which, man, is this a can of worms for somebody like Kevin Smith?
Yeah, I feel like for me, the thing that he's brought to pop culture is he feels like one of those nerds made good who is able to inspire other people like me, like you, like so many other people who have been as successful as him and have not been as successful as him to look at someone like him and go, he's doing it, I can do it too. And I think it's just the you know, we talk about it in this country so often and it feels so fucking hollow coming out of my mouth, but I think it's the reality, the American dream. And what does that mean?
Right.
He's living it. He went and made a movie with his fucking friends, and now he's living in Beverly Hills with his wife and his daughter, and they are millionaires because of what he was able to do. Which I don't know if that's the American dream to anybody else, but it sounds like what was advertised at the beginning of this ride. And as someone who, like Kevin Smith, was a nerd growing up, was chastised and made fun of for being a nerd, there was a time where being a nerd wasn't cool. It was called the 90s. And it was anything pre-2008, essentially. Before Iron Man comes out, it's not cool to be a nerd. But now being a nerd is cool, and being a nerd is sexy, and whatever the fuck bullshit. Kevin Smith was banging the drum for being a nerd long before any of us were able to even understand what that would mean or does mean now. And again, I think he's just a great example of someone who not only is able to be entertaining as a filmmaker, but again, I will reiterate, he's a fucking podcaster. He was doing the podcast thing before we were. Around the same time, he has his own podcast network, a podcast network that I hope one day to have one that's just as successful as his, because again, we're not making any movies based on our podcast episodes, but he did. And he's just banging the drum for what it means to be a nerd of upstanding value in a time and a place where everything is so loaded with cynicism and is so loaded with just double talk and bullshit that Kevin Smith feels like one of the few genuine people still out there, still has been a nerd, is a nerd, will be a nerd, and a nerd made good, who I think has inspired plenty of other people to throw their hat in the ring to try to do the same. So I think he's just been a good steward of what it means to be in tune with pop culture and other things that you love, and to do things that you love for a living the way that you want to do them. Right, you, Ryan?
Wow. Just well done. Yeah, completely agree with that. The way that I was going to say this, which I really don't want to make this come across as patronizing or insulting in any way, because I know it can, but for sure, I think one of the sentences that you said is my answer here, and that's because he made being a nerd cool. And I don't want to just leave it at that, because he has taken it to heights that people could not have comprehended back in 1994. I mean, he is... to be frank, like, he's one of the main reasons going to conventions fucking sucks nowadays, because everybody's charging $300 for a signature and a selfie when they're getting so many people there. But he is the one that has gotten people like behind the idea of Comic-Con. He's gotten people behind the idea of comic book shops being cool. He has written comics. He has designed comics. He's done shows for TV surrounding comics. He has directed episodes of TV surrounding comic book characters. He has made this his life goal to be like the ambassador for the entirety of nerddom.
Nerdum.
And somehow it has delivered in spades, and it's now a very different world. I mean, you've already mentioned the MCU, and obviously a part of that is primarily because a lot of the people making those films were the age where they were reading these things growing up. They were inspired by them. They got an opportunity, and now here it is exploding. But without Kevin Smith, a lot of people still would have thought all of this stuff sucks. And somehow he was able to appeal to the bullies, the bullied, and everyone else in between. And when we are getting stuff like the CW shows that he was a part of, and everybody is safe to love those, and other people think it's cool, like that kind of thing would not have happened 10 years earlier. The fact that Comic-Con has grown into a global event that people cannot get tickets to because it is so popular in a huge way is due in part to Kevin Smith. And I don't want to give him too much credit here. He did a lot of this. Other places have as well. But again, his involvement can't really be understated here, because he was the one in the 90s praising these things and trying to raise people's knowledge of these things and trying to speak up for the people that were only viewed as nerds. And that's why in every single one of his films, all of these things were highly represented. And it's a weird thing to say, like, we demand representation, but honestly, it's true. Like, there's a lot of people that have, dealt with mental health issues because they thought they were alone. That if he had been able to make some of these movies earlier, they might have seen there are other people out there like them that have these sorts of passions and hobbies. And seeing that could have empowered them to make different choices in their life. And something about him is so endearing on the way that he speaks on these that you can't help but just be like, I mean, yeah, you're right. Iron Man's fucking rad.
Can I tell you something that really irks me? That people are upset that Chasing Amy exists.
Yeah.
That's a movie, you know what? That's a movie that I feel like I've lived in a lot of ways. In terms of the person I was in high school. And it really irks me that, again, like, you can't, you can't enjoy, I get it. I get it, but I don't like it, because I think Chasing Amy is a weird thing to be added into the conversation of Kevin Smith movies. Because that is I feel like for me, it's a movie that is endeared. And I think it's also part of the conversation of Kevin Smith and pop culture, which is his ability to navigate a ever-changing world of pop culture and find his place in it still. There are plenty of filmmakers who were making films in the 90s that have not been able to get any sort of continued success further into the 2000s, let alone the 10s or the 20s.
Right.
And people are still waiting for the next thing with Kevin Smith. How many directors can we say that? Where there's a large group of people waiting. Not necessarily everybody. And it's an event. Every time Kevin Smith makes a movie, it's a thing. Just like Tarantino, just like Rodriguez, just like Denis Villeneuve and Chris Nolan at this point. Auteurs. I'll give them that. If people are willing to give Kevin Smith the auteur label, I'd be willing to give it to other people too. And I say that because it's unfair to malign someone as an auteur just because you don't like what they're making. Just because you don't like the, again, overt sexuality or sexual innuendos that Kevin Smith traffics in, which are fucking hilarious, if you find them funny. But comedy is subjective. I get it. Just like horror is subjective, just like art is subjective. And that's what we're talking about here. But he's an auteur, and a movie like Chasing Amy, I feel like, is an example of how he can be endearing in a way I wasn't even thinking I could expect from the guy who made Mallrats. And again, to speak to your idea of nerds being cool, those dudes in Mallrats are cool. Jason Lee and Jeremy London are nerds. Jason Lee is talking about how Shannon Doherty is blowing him to the theme song from Mighty Mouse, which is not something someone who's not a nerd would do. And they're the coolest characters in the movie. Like, I mean, they made being nerds cool before anyone knew that nerds could be cool.
And by that point, Jason Lee had already been a professional skateboarder, by the way.
Right. And you know what? Mallrats, we haven't really even mentioned it, which feels like kind of a shame. Because Mallrats is, I don't know, Mallrats is just a fun movie. I don't see it anything as other than kind of a lark, but Mallrats is fun. It might be his most fun movie, other than, well, Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
Strike Back is just, let's just stop this and go watch that and see how far we can get without knowing every line in the movie. Because, if we ask, like, what's made the biggest impact on you or me, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is the specific movie that made the biggest impact on me personally.
Such a quotable movie. And then obviously continue the love for Shannon Elizabeth. And
I mean, she's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shannon Elizabeth being good is not necessarily something I know people can get behind, but she's really, and God, I mean, we haven't really mentioned the fact that, like, Kevin Smith is also friends with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, and you know, they just show up in things from time to time, like Mallrats, like Dogma, like Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I mean, Ben Affleck has one of the best lines in that entire movie. Fictional characters. It's a shock when someone can do all of these things so well, and it's all one person writing the scripts himself.
Whilst high.
I mean, not anymore, though. He said he doesn't touch it anymore. For 2023, he says he doesn't smoke weed anymore, which is wild. That universe that we're living in, where it's a non-Kevin Smith on weed universe, I would like to see what the next movie looks like if he is indeed not imbibing anymore. Man, what is that movie going to look like?
It's the skewed View Askewniverse.
Yeah, it's not as skewed as it used to be. It's just a little less skewed. And hey, I'm surprised you didn't ask me if Mallrats 2 is ever going to come out, because similarly to Moose Jaws, it's been talked about forever.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I like Mallrats a lot. It is lower tier Kevin Smith for me. It's agreed, it's just a lark. Obviously there's a lot of funny scenes, but something about it doesn't hold up as well as the others for me. I that being said, like, I have a 4K release of it behind me right now. That is astonishing to me that Mallrats is out on 4K.
Is it the extended edition too? Because, man,
we have all of the editions on it, even the TV version.
Wow. Can I say the extended editions of Mallrats might be the one thing I say is unnecessary in terms of what Kevin Smith has done? I don't like the extended.
Well, he also did Cop Out.
He doesn't even.
No, I don't think anybody did.
Is that his most mainstream movie?
Well, you could argue Jersey Girl is a little more mainstream.
Who's arguing that?
Most people, because it's. I think Cop Out was rated R, and Jersey Girl was like not even PG-13.
Interesting. Jersey Girl, I have never seen.
Funny enough, me neither. And I hear it's decent, and I should. It's just, it's one of his only films. That and Cop Out are not in the View Askewniverse. There's, as far as I know,
Mary make a porno.
Right. Technically, I don't think there's any references to anything else that he's done in those movies at all. I don't remember any in Cop Out, at least. But yeah, it's just weird, random outliers in his filmography.
Yeah. I kind of want to watch it at some point, Jersey Girl.
I will, for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of movie I would definitely enjoy. And, I mean, Vilo Zsigmond did the cinematography, which is weird in and of itself. I think before we answer the last question, the thing that I want to point out that is weird that we didn't get a chance to say exists because it doesn't exist yet and may never exist. How has the MCU not hired Kevin Smith?
Yeah, that's an odd one.
DC, like, I get why if you're looking at it and like dick and fart and wiener jokes and cum jokes aren't your thing, but they hired the people that did Rick and Morty to write the scripts for the first Doctor Strange movie to punch it up with the comedy. I can guarantee you hire Kevin Smith to write your superhero movie, you're not going to have somebody come in to punch up the comedy. If anything, you'll have to take out dick and cock and cunt and all the other words that he's going to be using to make it a PG-13 movie. Unless you have it be an R-rated Marvel movie, which why not? Marvel, you're failing at everything else anyways at this point. You're staking everything on Deadpool as it is, which is an R-rated movie that Kevin Smith could have written in the 90s. Kevin Smith could have written for Deadpool in the 90s. Nobody's business, and he would have killed it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's weird to me that the guy who's been banging the drum for comic book movies and stuff and comic books and all that has never been given one other than, like, the TV shows. It's a little strange.
He did quite a bit of that, though. That the DC TV stuff was a big deal for him. He's done multiple episodes of The Flash. He did Supergirl. He wrote the Batman comic and made some pretty big like steps, if I remember right. I think he made there was like a big news story in like 2010 when he wrote a Batman comic, and Batman, I don't remember why, but something happened and Batman literally pisses his pants, and people took that, and it wasn't done for comedy. It was done as like a vulnerability for Batman, and people took that as this terrible thing that Kevin Smith did to add to the Batman lore. And it was just so human, and that's the kind of choices he makes that keep me interested in what he talks about.
Have you seen his Masters of the Universe TV show on Netflix? It's pretty good.
I've never seen anything Masters of the Universe.
And that's fair. We grew up in the 90s.
Right. Just barely missed it.
Just barely missed it.
Fourth question then, I think.
Yeah, what is the cinematic bridge to the subject of Kevin Smith? I feel like we've kind of mentioned it.
Yeah.
Tarantino, Rodriguez, right?
Tarantino doesn't fit this mold for me. I think he is.
They have people sitting around tables talking to each other in both of the films. Tarantino just has the action of it all. Like Kevin Smith just says, "I just want people talking the whole movie."
I guess what I'm getting at is the attitude a little bit more. Tarantino's already he's been polished and established since before he made his first movie, literally. And somebody like Rodriguez, who is associated with Tarantino, obviously, I think he's a better choice here. And then it's not really, the style of the filmmaking isn't really the same, but I really kind of want to throw out just some of the people that have clearly just given it their all. And there's certain films, so maybe I won't go down that path, but just the way that the 2000s and the 2010s have had directors pop up that you can tell when they were 21, they saw Clerks upon its release and went, fucking hell, I want to go make a movie now. Right. And then 15 years later, they had the perfect crew. They got everybody together and made a movie for $50,000, and it's incredible. And so much about that is inspiring in every way possible. And that's, I mean, in a way, that's what the 2010s feels like. These smaller directors that have made big waves, like nowhere near the same style or anything, but somebody like Robert Eggers, I feel like he watched films like this and went, you know what? I'm going to go make a weird movie just because I can.
Same with Jordan Peele. Like, Jordan Peele's another good example. Like, I'm not sure Jordan Peele's ever going to direct a movie that he doesn't write. And I would not blame him. And look,
I hope he doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I was not a fan of Jordan Peele, quote, Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. He was not involved with it the way I thought he was going to be, unfortunately, which is a shame because it wasn't good, because it would have been good if it had been his unique vision, the way Rod Serling led that show. And Kevin Smith is that same thing. I don't want to see a movie that Kevin Smith directs that he doesn't write, because what's the point? Like, you know, that's the thing. It's so weird. We talk about so many of these directors like a Scorsese or a Spielberg. These dudes aren't writing their own movies, guys. Right. Like, they're not. I mean, sometimes they do. I mean, Mean Streets is a Scorsese film through and through. And Goodfellas. But Goodfellas, the book, is very good. It has nothing to do with Martin Scorsese. He takes it and elevates it. Scorsese is a good screenwriter, but he does direct other people's stuff all the time. Kevin Smith, I don't think we'll ever see a movie that he doesn't write that's directed by him. And I understand why. I
sincerely hope not. One of the things that comes across through these is it is immensely personal when he makes a movie. Every single film that he's put out that he has written has been one that you can tell this comes from this man's soul. And something about that is just unendingly appealing for me. I will watch those until the end of time.
I don't care if someone doesn't like me. If they don't like me for being me, fuck you then. We're just not going to get along. And Kevin Smith, in a lot of ways, that is clearly the attitude he brings to things, which is, I'm going to do things my way. I'm a director-writer. I'm a director-screenwriter. That's just not a thing. Singer-songwriters aren't as much of a thing as they used to be either. I mean, again, like there's a precedent being set for this in the musical industry. There's a precedent being set for this in the film industry, that there are people that are writer-directors, and a lot of them are amazing and a lot of them aren't. But the fact that somebody is willing to do both and put their neck out doubly is... And if you're able to do it successfully, is impressive. So yeah, the names we've mentioned are all writer-directors pretty much. I mean, Peele, Robert Eggers, Denis Villeneuve. I mean, if you want to mention him, I mean, again, completely different genre, but again, writing and directing his own stuff. We mentioned Tarantino. I mean, all these are, again, auteurs, writer-directors. I mean, whatever you want to call them, but writer-directors who have a level of success in the industry are not as common as you would.
Well said. On that note, Chris, where can people find you when we are not describing our film foundations?
You can find me at Weirding Way Media, where I shoot my mouth off once, twice, 3 times a week, depending on the week. All about
sometimes movies. A day.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, we could make that happen. I talk all the time anyways. Where you can find everything that I work on over at weirdingwaymedia.com, including this show, The Culture Cast, The Projection Booth, Feminine Critique, Twisted and Uncorked, 80s TV Ladies. I could keep naming them, but you should just go find out all about them at weirdingwaymedia.com. What about you?
I am everyone under the name The Disc Connected, and you can also find my production company called Someone's Favorite Productions on social media, and we will have a website up later this year that's going to show all the stuff that we've been working on. Eager to share that with all of you, and until next time, we hope you check out our next episode and that you continue to push the boundaries of your interests in film.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.